Howdy, howdy, and welcome to episode 171 of the Eyes for Esports podcast. My name is Greg Lindberg. On this episode, we are discussing blind golf. And to help us do so, we have a very accomplished blind golfer from the great state of Georgia. In addition to competing in blind golf, he's also a high school golf coach and teaches at the high school as well. So let's go ahead and hit the course and start swinging toward episode 171 of the Eyes for Esports podcast. All right, so here on this episode of the podcast, we are talking about blind golf. And we have a highly accomplished blind golfer joining us for this conversation by the name of Brian Oglesbee. Brian, welcome to Eyes for Esports.
Thanks for the invitation. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Definitely. Glad to have you. I know, like we had talked previously, it has been a bit since we've chatted about blind golf here on the podcast. So glad to kind of revisit this amazing sport. So just to kick things off here, Brian, just kind of let's kind of rewind the tape, so to speak, and just go back to your childhood, where you were born and where you grew up.
All right. I'm from Georgia. I was born and raised in a small town of Thomaston, Georgia. I was diagnosed with retinoblastoma in both eyes at the age of 2, which is a cancer that affects the retina. By the time it was determined what I had, my right eye was too far gone to be saved, so it was removed. And my left eye was treated with chemotherapy and radiation. And for the next 14 years or so, until I was 16, I like to think that I had a pretty normal life. I had a cataract, but for the most part, I got around fairly well. That most people would not know that I even had a vision problem unless they were in the classroom with me and they saw that I needed large print text and struggled to see the board.
Oh, I see. So you really didn't even use like a white cane or anything to kind of self-identify
No, not
at that
all.
point. Right. And so I assume you were mainstreamed as far as schooling?
Yes, I was.
Gotcha. As far as college, any college education?
Yes. I lost my sight when I was 16 completely. I had the cataract removed, and it was unsuccessful in the fact we were hoping that I'd be able to see better, and unfortunately that didn't pan out. I've been blind since a month after my 16th birthday, but I did go to college. I had always wanted to go to the University of Georgia. I've been born and raised a Bulldog fan, but the size of the school just scared me to death. So to start with, I went to a 2-year college nearby at Gordon, which is now called Gordon State. I went there for a year, went to Mercer University and Macon for a short time, and then a very good childhood friend of mine called me one day and said, "Have you ever thought about going to the University of Georgia?" And I told him, yes, that's what I'd always wanted to do. But I'm a blind person, school that big, I'd get lost, hit by a bus or something. And he said, well, that's why I'm calling. I discovered today that University of Georgia has a handy van service. They will pick you up anywhere on campus, take you anywhere on campus, door-to-door service. All you have to do is get oriented to the building itself. And so I applied and went on up to Athens to the University of Georgia, and I graduated with both my undergrad and my graduate degree from the University of Georgia.
Wow. So they were super supportive, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. UGA has a phenomenal disability services program there. They take really good care of you as far as, the handy van service that I mentioned, taking you from building to building. Also, a great testing center where you could go and have tests read to you or whatever accommodations you needed. And also, they provided note takers in the classroom. So, if the professor was writing something on the board and you had no idea what it was, no big deal. You had someone sitting in the class with you, taking notes, kind of being your eyes.
Sure. That's awesome to hear. And yeah, I do want to mention I did play in a beat baseball tournament in Athens a few years ago near the campus there. And I think it was the Delta Gamma sorority. on campus that had a dinner for us, and from what I understand, that sorority in particular has been super supportive of the blind community.
Yes.
Definitely. Yep. So what did you study? What did you major in there?
I got my undergraduate in social science education, so that certifies me to teach any social science, any social studies, sixth grade through 12th. And then I got my master's degree in applied cognition and development, educational psychology.
Wow, quite a mouthful.
Yeah. Well, I knew that if I was going to get a master's degree, I needed to do it while I was there. I knew once I left, I was probably not going back. That was during the early years of the Mark Richt era, and football team was doing well, and I'm a huge football fan, so I stayed as long as I could. I put I turned 2 years into six. That way, I could stay and get my master's.
Yeah, that's a great kind of idea and plan. I kind of did a similar thing too, at USF St. Petersburg, University of South Florida, getting my bachelor's and then going on, right for the master's right then and there. And thinking back, it's like, yeah, I guess in terms of like just getting around and navigation and learning the campus, why not kind of knock it all out while you're there, right?
Absolutely.
So then transitioning on to sports. So I assume you did play some sports growing up as a kiddo?
Yes, I did. I played baseball. In fact, my dad started the T-ball program here in my hometown. When I was a little kid, we didn't have a T-ball program. He had seen it on one of his softball trips one weekend playing slow pitch softball. He had
Hmm.
seen T-ball, thought it was a neat way to introduce the game, came back, and no one was interested in running it. So he said, "Okay, well then I'll run it." So he ran T-ball for a few years. I played T-ball, and then on into what we called rookie league at the time, hitting off a machine. And then when I got old enough to hit live pitching, my vision just wasn't good enough to pick up the pitch from a pitcher's hand. So that was kind of the end of my baseball. But I had been playing golf probably since I was 5. I played some basketball until probably 12, 13 years old. But golf has always been a sport that I loved.
Sure. Yeah. And before we get into golf, I think you had mentioned to me that you did play some beat ball as a kiddo or as a teenager.
When I was at UGA, there was a guy that I met there through disability services who had played a lot of beat ball, and he was interested in starting a beat ball team there in Athens. So we went out and got a team together and practiced a good bit, and we traveled, played a few games. It was definitely a transition for me coming from the had played baseball from a visual standpoint to now playing the blind adaptive version. And like I was telling you in a previous conversation, there was one time that I felt like I almost died. I got ran over because there was
Eesh.
a ball hit toward my area, and I had always learned that when you had the ball, you called for it, and then you made the play. So there was a ball hit kind of in my area, and I kind of ran toward it and started hollering, "I've got it! I've got it! I've got it!" Went down to one knee to make sure I had it, and as I went down to one knee, I got plowed over by another guy running. So, I asked him, I said, "What the heck? Did you not hear me say I've got it?" He said, "I heard you saying it, but I also heard the ball still running, so I thought you didn't." So I thought that maybe I ought to stick to golf.
Right, right. A little safer, less contact, right?
Yes.
And did you know Roger Keeney by
Roger
chance?
Keeney was the guy who was starting the program. Yes, that was the guy I met.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I know he did pass fairly recently, but great guy. Got to play for his team, the Athens Timberwolves, a few times years ago. And yeah, I know he was a long-time beat baseball player. I think he played in the first beat baseball World Series, I believe in
Yes,
1976.
he had told me that.
So just legendary kind of guy in adaptive sports, but beat ball
Oh
for
yeah.
sure. Cool. Then yeah, so in terms of golf, so I know you did mention to me that I guess it was pretty soon after you went totally blind that you did hit the driving range kind of for the first time after that, right?
Yes. So I lost my sight maybe right at a month after my 16th birthday, and for 2 or 3 months, I just sat around the house and didn't really do anything. Just kind of depressed. Thinking my life was over. All my dreams, all the things that I enjoyed doing, never be able to do that when I was blind. And my mama has always been one of those that found ways to help me overcome obstacles. And she pretty much saw this as just another obstacle I could overcome. And she immediately started finding ways around the house that I could do stuff. She would put tape on the microwave so I knew where the start button was and where a couple of other buttons were. And she put little bumps on the washing machine and the dryer so I could still wash and dry clothes. And she helped me with organization, but also she had been on me about, she knew how much I loved the game of golf and wanted me to go out and play golf or at least give it a try. I came up with every excuse I could come up with because I knew just how difficult the game of golf was when I could see. I thought there was no way possible that I would be able to swing a club and hit this little bitty golf ball with a little bitty club now that I couldn't see at all. But my mom has always been persistent, and she kept on me, and I finally decided that the only way to get this crazy woman off my back was to go out there and do it and get it over with. And I just
Yep.
knew that I was going to go to the driving range. I'd swing and miss, probably fall down, make a fool out of myself, and at least then she would leave me alone. So I finally decided,
Right.
okay, we'll do it. So my dad and I one afternoon went down to the local driving range, and on the way to the driving range, my dad kind of uh, reverted to coach dad. He started telling me about how, hey, how much fun golf has been. Let's just go out here and let's see what happens. We'll figure it out. Just go out here and relax and just trust your swing. Don't try to knock the cover off the ball. Let's just swing and see what happens. All I need you to do is swing. I'll take care of the rest. And we got to the driving range and put the club in my hand, and I was swinging, getting loose, and I have to admit, it felt great just to be out doing something again, swinging the club.
Hmm.
All those memories flooded back. So my
Sure.
dad
Sure.
said, "All right, you ready?" And I said, "Okay." And he put a ball on the tee, and he put the club behind the ball, and then he got behind me and kind of shifted me into position and said, "All right, that looks good." He said, "Remember what I told you? Just swing the club, and we'll adapt. We'll make it work." And I said, "Okay." Took a deep breath and pulled the trigger, and two things happened. One, I hit the golf ball, and second, I hit it straight. That was something I couldn't do when I could see. And, that was when I realized a couple of things. One, um, my mom wasn't the crazy person I was for thinking that I couldn't do this.
Right.
And the second thought was, wow, if I can hit a golf ball, what else can I do? And that,
Sure.
that kind of jump started me back into living again. And it's kind of, it's kind of taught me and proven to me what I like to call my Philippians 4:13 philosophy, and that is all things are truly possible if you just believe. And it made a believer out of me.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, like you said, one swing, literally just one swing, and how that kind of changed your perspective and outlook, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Great story. So let's talk about just the adaptations of golf for the blind and visually impaired. So, I mean, from what I understand, you pretty much have, I know they're different terms, guide, spotter, someone who is sighted that essentially gives you those visual cues and visual information, right?
Yes. So blind, visually impaired golfers have a coach or a coach caddy that go along with them, and depending on your degree of vision loss, their job is different. So for me, for example, my coach, I like to say I have the easy part. My job is just to swing the club. My coach has to line me up, make sure that I'm lined up fairly decent. Then he has to, watch the shot, find it because I'm probably not going to hit it where he wanted me to, at least not remotely as near many times as we would like. Then we go and find it. He will give me the yardage. And then if there are any obstacles in the way, he may or may not tell me about them, just depending on, obviously if they're tree limbs and I need to hit it low, that, they will tell me that. But sometimes we've learned there's there are times that you don't need to know. Like if there's a sand trap in front of the green, it's up to them whether they tell me it's there or not because I don't know if they want it to get in my head and be worried about it. I know, for example, my brother was my coach. My brother Alex was my coach for 3 or 4 years when we went up to Ohio to play in the American Blind Golf Match Play Championships, and we played there. We played this course for 3 years before I knew of this huge ravine that was right in front of the 10th tee box. He uh,
Hmm.
he never told me it was there because he didn't want it to be in my head. In fact, the only reason that I found out about it was after the a tournament one year, somebody was talking about that they never could hit their tee ball over the ravine on number 10. And I said, "What ravine?" And my brother said, "Oh, crap. We'll never play number 10 the same again now that he knows it's there."
Right. Cat's out of the bag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is so just fascinating thinking about, not knowing certain visual information versus knowing it as someone who is sighted and kind of maybe the benefits of not knowing that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So in terms of blind golf here in the US, I know there are a couple organizations. We'll certainly get into the USBGA. I know that's the one you're very involved in now. But in terms of American blind golf, tell me about
ABG, American Blind Golf.
ABG.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
That's an association that I have I have played competitive blind golf with them for 16 years now, and part of that was because I was actually out on the internet searching for any tips to help me with my game. You know how now you can pretty much find out how to do anything now on YouTube or something,
Sure.
Google stuff. And so I was doing that. I was struggling with my game, just trying to find any tips, and discovered that American Blind Golf was an organization, and they were actually holding an event in Columbus, Georgia, which was about an hour from where I live. And I thought, well, dang, that's perfect. I'll get to meet some other people and maybe learn some tricks of the trade, and met some wonderful people there, and with Tim Jackson and Bruce Hooper were two just phenomenal guys. I mean, met a bunch of people, but those two just took me under their wing and showed me some different tips and tricks. And um, so I discovered that back then they had a couple tournaments a year. They held a tournament in Ohio in June, and then would have a national stroke play tournament in San Antonio, Texas in October. So played in those for, like I said, for like 16 years. Been fortunate enough to win the match play championships in Ohio 4 times now. It's
Wow.
it's it's been great because 3 of those I won with my brother on the bag. Um, it's been great when I get to play golf with my brother Alex because I can remember as when he was just a little kid, he taking time to to go and take me to the golf course and line me up and play, and being able to have him on the bag was great. And then other times I have my probably my oldest best friend, a guy named Jason Hogan. He and I have been friends since we were 2, 3 years old, and
Hmm.
he's gone with me a lot of times too. He was up in Ohio for one of those, and then he's gone with me most times to San Antonio, and he and I were able to win a national championship out there. Um, and like I said a few minutes ago, with totally blind golf, they have the hard part. I have the not to say that blind golf is simple because it's not, but I have the easier part of I've just got to swing the club. They're the ones that have got to line me up, find it when I hit it, line me up again, and keep repeating the process.
Right, right, exactly. And I understand there are some visual classifications when it comes to
Yes,
blind
there
golf as
are,
well.
and these are set up by the International Blind Golf Association and then recognized by the associations for each country, like the United States Blind Golf Association or American Blind Golf. And they are B1, which is totally blind golfers, B2, which are golfers, to oversimplify it, these are golfers that can see anywhere from 2,200 to 2,600 when doing the eye test. And then B3 golfers are 2,600 vision.
Oh, I see. I see. And I would assume that there's maybe a little difference, in visual information, perhaps, that the coach might provide based
Oh
on
yes,
someone's level of
absolutely.
vision.
For like a B3 golfer, they they probably can see well enough to see certain parts of the golf course. I've played with B2 and B3 golfers before, and a lot of times they're just talking with their coach about you know making sure they're aimed at the right spot, making sure that they're talking about the same target line. Like if there's a tree out there 200 yards that they want to start the ball at, they make sure that they're talking about the same tree because the coach may see stuff in between that and that big tree that the golfer may not see. So stuff like that.
Right. Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit more about the USBGA, the United States Blind Golf Association. I understand they do have, perhaps more tournaments than some other organizations, and that you're also pretty involved with their board, right?
I got started with USBGA 3 years ago now. I think I had heard about their organization, but I had never played in it. And then I discovered that they were holding a tournament here in Georgia. So I thought, why not? That's easy travel. That's just my coach driving instead of us trying to catch a plane somewhere. So I went and played in that tournament, and then I joined that association, played in that tournament, and discovered that they tend to try and have 3 to 4 tournaments a year. So I just I just want to play golf. It doesn't really matter to me what association I'm playing with. I just want to play golf. And that's pretty much the mindset of all these guys and ladies that I play with. We just want to play golf. And I've been playing USBGA for about a year, and I was approached by a couple of members that said that there was a board position coming open in the fall, and they wanted me to run. And to start with, I was like, I'm the new guy here I'm the pro V. I'm the new guy here. Uh, I don't know about that. And they said, well, that's
Right.
kind of the point. Uh, we need some fresh blood in there. Would you run? And so I ran and was elected. And I tell you what, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The the men and women that make up that board. I think we make up a great team. We don't always agree on things, but that's kind of the point. Is you don't want people to agree all the time. Then nothing new happens, and we have been able to implement some new things. Like for example, this year we have an award that we're modeling after the FedEx Cup with the PGA Tour. You get points for how you finish in the events, and at the end of the year, we're going to crown we're calling it the Bob G. Allman Award. Bob Allman was one of the founding members of U.S. Blind Golf Association and one of the first presidents of the association. So, in memory of him, we've named what is essentially our FedEx Cup. It's a points race to reward people that play in events and finish well.
Wow, that's awesome. And yeah, sounds like a great guy to memorialize and, in that respect. So in terms of just other tournaments, I know you've got, quite a resume when it comes to championships and titles. As far as USBGA events, anything you want to mention, specific accomplishments there?
I've been very fortunate. I have I have had some great coaching and great help that has allowed me to play some really good golf. I would actually have to go all the way back to after I lost my sight and my dad took me to the driving range that time. That bug bit me, and my dad always took me to the golf course to play with him. When he was playing with his friends, he would let me go along with him and just hit a shot. If I hit it good, I could go hit it again. If not, I would pick it up and go hit from his ball just to stay in the game, just to playing the game. So my dad has kind of instilled in me constant wanting to get better. And then my brother has that bug also. So my brother is constantly taking me either to play golf or here in town we have a golf simulator that he and I are both members of. He takes me up there, so I'm constantly able to hit and practice and get better. And then between my brother Alex and my friend Jason, taking days off of work, sometimes a week off work to go with me to play in these tournaments, and they've been great in helping me prepare, get ready, and doing, like I've said, doing the heavy lifting, doing all the hard work. And I have been extremely fortunate and blessed by God that I have the ability and the talent to play some golf. And we've we've won a few tournaments. We've won the match play championships that I mentioned earlier, and the national stroke play. And then in 2024, I won Jason and I, because blind golf is a team sport. It's people understand
Sure,
that golf
sure.
being individual, but blind visually impaired golf is definitely a team sport. So Jason and I traveled to Dallas, Texas, and won the national championship of USBGA. And then this past April, the U.S. Open was held in Columbus, Georgia, and Jason and I, well, the first day I played really well. The second day, Jason coached me out of a lot of trouble. I hit a lot of shots that he somehow managed to aim it far enough in one direction or the other to play the game that I had brought that day. So he definitely earned that championship without question. And I think a lot of that is because he's listened to my brother Alex a lot. My brother a lot of times will just aim me how I'm hitting it and doesn't tell me anything different. Like, oh yeah, you're hitting it fine, and I may be hitting it with a 30-yard slice, but he's like, I can play that. I'll just line him up further, and and so Jason does that too. And so we've done that. We won that this year. And then Guiding Eyes, Guide Dog School up in New York, hosts a tournament every year that used to be called the Blind Masters. and now it's called the Pat Brown Jr. Invitational, and it's put on by Guiding Eyes Guide Dog School, and they invite usually around 12 blind, visually impaired golfers to have one day of competition, and a great tournament that they put on every year, and at a really nice golf course. And Jason and I have been fortunate enough to win that the past 2 years.
Wow. Wow. Congrats on that. That's amazing. And yeah, just
Thank
shout
you.
out to Guiding Eyes for the Blind as well. I did have some staff members actually on this podcast talking about their running guides program, for blind runners and dogs that actually run, with their handlers. So I know they do a lot of cool stuff there that's pretty unique, and that's really cool that they do support, blind golf as well and have this tournament, and that's been going for quite a while, it sounds like. So I know you have definitely touched on just kind of that relationship, as far as the blind golfer and their coach. Anything else you want to mention just about like the keys to an effective relationship and effective pairing when it comes to that?
First and foremost, communication. It's knowing your golfer and knowing, what they need to know. And, with blind golf completely, B1 golfer, that's definitely got to be the most difficult of the three divisions as far as coaching, because there is no vision whatsoever. You are the eyes 100%. And then, like I mentioned earlier, knowing what information is good and what information is overload, and just having that nice, you know, relationship. It's wonderful to have people like that you know take time out of their lives. And one of the great things is the coaches get to play with us on the practice round.
Hmm.
So they get to travel and they get to play new courses and all that. But after the practice round, during competition, they're out there for sometimes 5 or 6 hours on a golf course, but not getting to hit a single shot. And I know it's got to be frustrating sometimes for them to see a shot and think like, oh, I could make this shot, and then we mess it up. Because what I tell people is, um, we're going to hit bad shots. It's just the nature of the game.
Right.
It's just going to happen, and it's all about having a coach that helps you stay level headed and focused when you do hit the bad shot. Of keeping you calm and not freaking out. Because when you're in a championship and it's a close race, you're 2 or 3 strokes ahead or 2 or 3 strokes back, and you've got a chance. And then when you hit a bad shot, it's very difficult to not think the world is ending. When and it's great to have a coach that can sit there and say, "Hey, look, nothing you can do about that shot. Let's just go hit a good one now." And I've been blessed with some really good coaches that have kept me level headed when I have wanted to doom and gloom. Well, it's
Right.
over now. I just hit that in the
Yo.
woods.
Yeah,
But
so obviously it's definitely beyond just the visual information and helping line you up, just the support, the psychology too, you can argue, to that relationship.
oh,
No doubt.
absolutely.
Yeah. I am definitely curious as far as just like some typical scores for these tournaments, what kind of scores are the golfers shooting out there?
Well, for B1s, totally blind, anything. And it's one of those that, like, I hesitate to say, because I don't want to throw a number out there and then people go, "Holy cow! I could never shoot that and never come out and
Sure.
play." But I will tell you, you know, anything around one 130 and under is going to be very respectable. Um, I think in the U.S. Open this year that that Jason and I won, I shot like 117, 124, I think. Um, and and the great thing is we offer both gross and net trophies. So gross is just counting your score. If you shoot 117, that's what your score was. And net takes into account your handicap. And like right now, I'm carrying a 36 handicap, so that 117 turned into more like a 80 something, depending on, I forget what it was, because it also, your handicap takes into account your typical score, your best scores, but also it rates the golf course on how difficult it is. So that is the great thing about the game of golf is anybody can play with anybody, especially once you establish a handicap.
Absolutely. No doubt. Yeah. And the
But
tournaments, are the tournaments typically 72 holes or what kind of length?
they're typically 36, 2 days of competition.
36.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yo.
And I know that, there's been a couple of B1 golfers, totally blind golfers that I have heard are truly amazing and they've shot scores in the 80s. Uh, and then I think I've shot in the 90s twice in my life. So I mean, just to kind
Wow.
of give an indicator of, but I've also I've also shot in the 140s. So
Right. Yo. Oh, yeah. Definitely makes sense. And I appreciate just kind of giving some context to that. Yeah. So, in addition to playing golf, I know you also coach golf. If you just want to talk about kind of your journey into coaching.
yes. So back in 2014, the golf coach here at my high school at Upson-Lee High School, he and I lunch together every day, and he and I talked golf all the time. And one day he said, "You ever thought about coaching?" And I just kind of laughed. I said, "Who's going to hire a blind golf coach?" And he said, "Well, I need an assistant, and I'll hire a blind golf coach." He said, "I need an assistant." He and I had played golf a couple times together, and he said, "You obviously know the game." He said, "High school golf is all about teaching the approach to the game. It's not so much, teaching the swing and all that, although, you're there to give tips when they're struggling, but it's more about the golf course management and the approach." And I said, "Well, yeah." So I was his assistant coach that year. And then at the end of the year, he left the school system, and I kind of got tag you're it, which, so that was, I've always heard that God works in mysterious ways. And that was definitely the way that of getting me in, because I was already in. And so I've been the head coach since 2015. And it's it's nice being able to teach and to give back to the sport that essentially got me living again. And so I want to be sure as many people get that reward and that benefit as possible. So yeah, it's been great. We've we've won a region title and an area title, and we've had some very successful teams come through here. But it's to me the most fulfilling and rewarding part is just seeing these uh, well, men and women now that they've graduated, and you see that they're still playing golf,
Right.
running into
Right.
them at the golf course, or seeing their post on social media of them, they're still out playing golf.
Absolutely. And just knowing that, you had an impact on them and then hopefully something rubbed off in a positive way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then do you also teach for the school as well?
Yes, I do. I've been teaching since 2004, and I've been at the high school here at Upson-Lee High School since '06. I've I am a co-teacher, so I'm the special ed teacher in the general ed classroom, social studies. For the last few years now, it's been economics, which I love.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm definitely curious too. I know, we had chatted about just kind of your role as a teacher and a coach and just some of the reactions, when students find out that they have a blind teacher or blind coach.
Oh, it shoots the spectrum. Usually, what I do the first day of the class is, I tell them that yes, I'm totally blind, and I give them a little bit of my background, but not the whole background. And I tell them that what I want them to do is I go home that night and try to come up with things they think I can't do because I'm blind. I tell them to imagine you woke up this morning totally blind. What would you not be able to do? And then when they come back and ask questions or tell me things they think I can't do, I uh, I tell them that yes, I can, and I tell them how, and that's how I finish telling my story. And it it ranges from they think that I can't cook, and then so I tell them how I cook, and they think I can't watch TV, and I tell them how I do that, and how if you just sit there and listen to a TV show or a movie or a ball game, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what's going on. You might not have exact, but you'll have a good idea. And and then they want to, and then that leads into how I know what color the shirt is I'm wearing, and I show them the technology that I have. It's a little Bluetooth tag I can put in there and then scan it with my phone through the Way Around app, and then
Yep.
from
Yep.
there that goes into how do you use a phone? And I tell them it's just a regular iPhone like most of you've got in your pocket, and I show them how that works, and then after we've had that conversation, I tell them the point of me telling them all that is we're all unique, we're all different, we all have things that we struggle with, whether it's reading, whether it's whether it's math, whether it's whatever it may be. Um, it doesn't matter how you do it; it's that you do it, and finding out what the obstacle is, and then figuring out a way to get around it. And that is something that my mama taught me and has engraved in me over you know all my life. Of when I could see, finding out how to adapt. All the way back from when I was in like the sixth grade and had to do a research paper and couldn't read the encyclopedia because it was too small a type. We didn't have the technology that we have now. Um, he took the article in the encyclopedia and copied it word for word in large enough handwriting for me to read, so I could read and do the research myself. So the obstacle of me not being able to see the text, she showed me how to get around it. Okay, well, I'm gonna write it big enough where you can see it. And so it didn't matter how I did the research, it was that I did it. And that is what I try to, teach my students and my golfers is, there's, like we say on the golf course a lot of times, they don't draw pictures on the scorecard. It doesn't matter how you got the score, it's that you got it. So, and the same thing in the classroom. It doesn't
Right.
matter how you learn the material, it's that you learned it.
That's right. So true. And obviously, everyone has, adversities or challenges, no matter, all humans, we all
Yes.
have something, right? So, how do you kind of navigate and overcome in spite of anything like
Yes.
that?
And I have been fortunate in my life to have some great people that have showed me that, whether it be my mom and my dad, or my brother and sister, or my friends, or teachers. Um, so now I want to pay it forward and do the same.
Right. Absolutely. That's awesome. All right. So before we wrap up here, I did want to give it the chance, Brian, to mention as far as contact info for USBGA or any kind of resources if anyone out there listening is interested in blind golf, maybe getting involved or learning more.
Absolutely. We would love to have people, even if you've never played the game of golf before, look us up on the internet. U.S. Blind Golf Association is usblindgolf.com. Get more information, get contact info there, send emails, make phone calls, sign up for an event. We hold clinics that we will be more than happy to try and teach people the game if they've never played it, or if you have and you just think that you're not competition ready, come out anyway. It's one of the best deals on the planet, as you get several days at a golf course and hotel and all that for a very, very reasonable price, and you will discover that you're probably better than you think. And so that's usblindgolf.com. And then the other one was American Blind Golf. That's americanblindgolf.com. Guy in Ohio by the name of Mark Arnold is always a great guy, one of my closest friends. I know that he would be willing to talk to anybody also, but yeah, either one of those organizations would be great. I know that U.S. Blind Golf, we are holding our national championships this upcoming August in Birmingham, Alabama. And then we're having a regional tournament out in the Austin, Texas area in October. And then also another good friend of mine, Jack Hansen, is holding a tournament out in the Kansas City area that's also in October, at the end of October. So there are opportunities to get out there and play some golf and meet some people. And if nothing else, just look us up on the web and send us an email.
Excellent. Appreciate that. And as always, I'll include that info in the show notes for this episode so everyone can find that easily too. All right. Well, again, we've been chatting with Brian Oglesbee here on this episode of the podcast. And Brian, thank you so much for your time. Congrats on all your success. Just, wow, what a story. I've interviewed so many folks on this podcast, and you definitely stand out among them, I must say. So thank you so much for everything.
First of all, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for the opportunity, for the invitation.
Absolutely. All righty. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter @eyesfreesports.